Live. Welcome back to Nothing But Nets. Breezy, there's something going on. I can't. It's not going live to your Twitter. It's not letting me
Oh,
put it live to
nah,
you.
it's cool. It does that when I'm on StreamYard all the time, and I'll share it to my Twitter by myself. And I already shared this live
All right,
anyway.
cool. All right. The Nets lost last night to Cleveland. D'Angelo Russell got hurt. The game they were playing surprisingly well in until D'Lo went down. And also, Sean Mark speaks on why he decided not to trade Cam Johnson in what was a shocking little interview. But I got a full panel here. I got Dylan, Nets Press. I got John, Everything BK, Nets John, and my special guest, Breezy. Breezy, introduce yourself. Tell us where we can find you and tell us about your podcast. That's what you got going on.
Y'all can find me on Big Fan Breezy on YouTube or Twitter. If I'm not there, you can find me in the chat on this show or on a panel as a special guest. And you know what I'm saying? If it's about Brooklyn Nets basketball, I'm pulling up. You know what I mean? That's what it is.
I'll start with you. Last night, the Nets were playing well. They were beating Cleveland. They were beating them at halftime until D'Lo got hurt. Let me ask, how big of a game when they got D'Lo? I said he's not a winning piece. He's not really going to make any difference. Clearly, he does. What were your thoughts on the way the Nets were playing before D'Lo got hurt, and just how important is D'Lo to winning basketball games?
I don't listen. I like D'Lo. I like D'Lo being back, and I think he's important for the culture. I think he's important. Just being a second pick in the draft, and just with everything going on with the 2025 draft, just kind of being there for the locker room, being there for the coach, knowing everything about tanking and quote unquote tanking and not tanking, and just his voice on a team, I think is a good thing. But to winning, I don't want to give him too much credit because every point guard that Jordy Fernandez starts at point guard excels. They all excel, whether it been because D'Lo, Schroeder, Shake Milton had 12 assists. You know what I'm saying? So I said that to say with all of the player development that we always discuss, I always want to put emphasis that I think Jordy Fernandez is in charge of the player development of the point guard. That's just my humble opinion. So
Let me
to the
push
point,
back on this a little bit, Breezy. Let me push. As soon as he came out, the Nets couldn't put the ball in the hoop, right? When the Nets lost 15 out of 17 back in December, January, February, whatever that was, it was when he was out. As soon as he came back, they started winning games. As I see it, and I want to give you time to rebut me. D'Lo can create his own shot, but more importantly, he can create offense for others. When he's out, they don't have another point guard who can create his own shot or create shots for others, and the offense gets extremely stagnant really quickly. I'll let you rebuttal that though.
it's not really a rebuttal. I kind of add to it. I second that, but I do give a lot of contribute a lot of credit to Jordy Fernandez. But D'Lo for what he was and now, it's almost the same. You know what I'm saying? The first stint he had with the Brooklyn Nets was very impactful, and now this stint with the Brooklyn Nets, yes, he can create his own shot, and yes, he can facilitate and find guys. He's been a plus on the roster. I'm glad he's on the roster, but you know, I don't know about long term. But just speaking for now, right now, yeah, I think he's an addition on the roster, and he's made the team better. He's made the team better for sure.
I want to get to. Let me put the same question to John. John, at halftime, third quarter, the Nets are up. They're beating the best team in basketball. What were your thoughts at that moment? How were your thoughts on how the Nets were playing? And then D'Lo gets hurt, and immediately things fall apart. How important is D'Lo to winning basketball? Should he be here? I mean, should he be gone because he is that important to winning? Oh, give me your thoughts on that, on the game itself through the first two quarters plus, and then how important is D'Lo to this to winning?
Yeah, always great talking fun basketball with you, Gary, Dillon, and Breezy. Yeah, listen, what Jordy has done this last few months, maybe 2 months, with this defensive identity he's created on his team has been nothing short of I guess some people say amazing, just given the fact that most of these guys are on 1-year deals or, the scrap C minus, back end type guys who are now getting these roles, whether being a backup or a starter, and they're thriving under Jordy. So this defensive identity has allowed a team with probably one of the worst offenses to thrive under those circumstances. So the fact that this team had a 2-point lead over the first place, one of the best offense in the league, I think that's a victory some people could take within itself. But just like you said, as soon as D'Lo hurt his ankle, this team was stagnant. I'll be honest with you, if Dennis wasn't on this team this year, we never got D'Lo, I think our numbers would have been what they were supposed to be this season, which is winning way under 20 games and probably maybe around just 10 games. Because if you don't have a set point guard this season, this team, whatever it is, no, you're not having a winner's punch at all. You're getting blown out probably by most teams on any given night. So having point guards this year, I think if we don't get a top pick, will be what I will look back at as, damn, do we really need a point guard this year to win these games? To Breezy's point, Kenny Atkinson made some riveting reviews about D'Lo during his first stint. This guy was a leader. He was an alpha. He was a young star in the making. I look at D'Lo as a what could have been if he had stayed on Brooklyn. If they actually kept that core of 2018 together, could D'Lo have been maybe a first or at worst a second star? Maybe. But fast forward 3 to 4 to 5 years later, he's been on different teams with star players, and he hasn't been able to maintain his role as far as offensively. Offense, he's been all right, but defensively has not been able to keep a role on that team. He's just kind of gone down and down. Now he's back with Brooklyn. Yeah, if you need a veteran voice to pass on some knowledge, some of the young guys on this team, okay. But he's a transitional piece. You bring him back for a year, okay, but you need a legit starting point guard of your future. And D'Lo, unfortunately, doesn't have the physicality or that mindset when it matters most in a playoff situation to take this team far. So I feel like we should have cut our losses with D'Lo as soon as we got him, but Sean Marks likes to go back in the bag with nostalgia, and I just don't think nostalgia is what's going to translate to us as far as having a real, legit future.
Let me ask you this question, because when I got D'Lo, I was excited. I love D'Lo, but honestly, D'Lo is a good tanking piece, like he is. Is he not? Am I wrong? Is he a bad tanking piece? Is he helping this team win too many games?
100% he is. We were 2-15 before we got him after we cut ties with Schroeder, and we are now once again above 20 wins, 2 wins above our projection, on pace to probably win 28 to 30 games. That's a problem. They have not taken it seriously this year whatsoever.
I want to ask you that, right? Because Jordy is obviously, look, and I don't blame Jordy. Jordy was not hired to tank. He was not hired under those pretenses. He was hired when they still had Bridges. And the talk was, which I thought was ridiculous, was they were going to try to get Garland or someone like that to pair with Bridges, which I thought like this is a losing proposition. You're going to trade your only draft capital to get Garland, something like that. But Jordy was not here to tank. That's not what he took the job for. So I don't blame him for not tanking. You say they haven't taken it seriously, which clearly they did not, right? Clearly the other teams, Toronto, which is infinitely more talented than us, is doing a far better job at tanking. So let me put the question to you, Dylan. Whose fault is it that this tank went sideways like this?
Sean Marks. I don't care how many times I have to say it. The guy is one of the worst GMs in basketball. He does not know what he is doing. Every single year it is something new with him. He has got to be one of the most incompetent, lackadaisical people I've ever seen in my life. He has no sense of urgency. It gets to a point where I used the example the last time we were on this. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Mike Tomlin's been the head coach for over 15 years. He won 1 championship within his first 2 seasons because he was handed down a team by Bill Cowher, who is one of the best coaches in NFL history. And he has not done shit since. He has lost in the first round.
He did go to another Super Bowl. They lost to Aaron Rodgers. He did. Yeah.
Since 2015, it has been 10 years since he has made it out of the first round. He has a problem. He is not a good coach. And that's my point, is at some point in time, you have to get rid of the cancer, and the Nets' cancer is Sean Marks. He has no sense of urgency in terms of what direction he wants to pick. Every single year. Last season, when we had none of our draft picks and Mikal Bridges, and we were fighting for a play-in spot, he refused to trade for a guy like DeJounte Murray, who you could have gotten for as low as a singular first-round pick. Okay, understandable if you make that move in a year where you don't have your picks. Completely get that. But then you move Mikal Bridges for picks. You get your own picks back, and instead of fully investing in those picks, which are the most valuable asset on this team, whether people want to believe it or not, our picks the next 2 years are more valuable than Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton, or Jordy Fernandez. They are much more valuable than any of them. So the problem is that instead of fully investing in those picks, He invested in role players. And this is his attachment issues. He has an attachment issue with role players. He did it with Joe Harris. He did it with Patty Mills. He's doing it with Cam Johnson. He has a problem. And until you get rid of that cancer, I don't trust this organization whatsoever to get to the point where they need to be at all.
Yeah, let me follow up on that. Because what is his love affair with guys like Patty Mills and Joe Harris?
Patty Mills is an Aussie, so he loved him with the connection. Same thing with Ben Simmons. He practically rehabbed him for 3 years while paying him $40 million a year. It's pure stupidity. I mean, Mark Williams failed in a physical in which he actually probably didn't even fail. Yet you trade a guy who was in MVP talks in James Harden for a guy with a actual injury who could have probably gotten that trade voided if you really looked into his physical background, but they didn't. Sean Marks is like a bottom. He just takes it whenever it's given, and that's the problem. Until he actually grows a sack and decides to do his job properly, he will never make this team better because he got the Knicks offer handed to him. And then the only trade that he has physically made with this organization that's actually been beneficial is getting our picks back. And even that, he's fucked up. So he's a bitch in like the most simplistic term possible. He is a horrible GM. And
yeah, he means bitch in the most literal sense of the word, a female packed animal. He acts like a female packed animal. And I understand that. And like the Aussie thing, if that's the only reason, like, look, I'm a first generation Italian, right? My mom's from Italy. I would not give Simon Fontecchio the bag. I would not say, you know who we need? Andrea Bargnani at any cost, right? If that was why he kept Patty Mills and let Bruce Brown walk, that is a fireable offense, and it's absolutely retarded, by the way. I'm sorry for the language, but it is. I hope there's more to it than he's from the same country as me. That can't be the answer. I mean, it could be. I just hope it's not. Let me get it, LBL. LBL, I want to put the same question to you.
Hey, everyone.
LBL.
What's on, LBL?
D'Lo out. As soon as D'Lo gets hurt, ankle sprain, the Nets offense falls apart. So the question is like two parts. Is D'Lo a really bad tanking piece? Was this trade go horribly wrong if you were looking to tank? And who do you blame for this tank not working, for this tank going sideways?
Well, I think because D'Lo is still a serviceable player, and he was one of my favorite Brooklyn Nets on his first tour. Because he's a decent player and serviceable, I think that he's horrible for the tank. The second thing you asked was, who do I blame? And I have to blame Marks because, I would say in August or September at that time, most of us on here would have been so happy to get rid of Cam Johnson that we would have taken 2 second-round picks for him, just as long as we didn't have, as long as we were getting an expiring contract or something, we would have taken 2 second-round picks for him and an expiring contract. That's how bad he had played up before the season. Now that he has played well, he overstated his value. He demanded too much, and now we're stuck with him. But so I blame Marks, and then trying to win games and do all of that stuff, I blame him. And I wanted to add something to what Dylan said when he said that our picks in this year and next year, getting those picks back are more valuable than even Cam Thomas or Claxton or any of them. I think what has to be added to that is they're more valuable to us because we had the control over our own destiny. So even though they're, they'll be valuable to other teams if we traded them, they're most valuable to us because the whole point of it was if you have control over your own destiny, you could sit out anyone you want to, just like Toronto has done, just like everyone else has done, just like Charlotte has done, like San Antonio will do. And we could have, tanked with the best of them. But instead, Sean has this way of going about business that is horrible business. And so with that said, I just think that he did a very horrible job. And then on top of that, if you add on, if we ended up trading, say we traded say we traded our own from next year, 26, right, to a different team or whoever, right? For even if it's for a star or whatever. Watch all the freaking league beat the F out of us just so that we can't win, and then that pick ends up being a high draft pick. Because what I'm saying is, and this is what I've been getting on this guy on X, Clowny Muse about, is he's like, no, we have a solid team. And, you know, I'm glad Breezy's here because a lot of times Breezy and Jay, they like to
I'm
say,
just waiting, Margo. I got a lot of
I like-
I'm just
they like
waiting,
to
Margo.
say, hey, we're
LBL,
pretty
let me interrupt real quick. Finish, but I want to go ahead. I want to.
No, I'm just saying that when they say we're pretty decent in terms of having pieces and stuff, and I'm saying most of these guys, if you asked around the league, most of them won't be rotational players, and most of them may not even be in the NBA in 5 years. So this is what I'm saying. They're young.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. Good. Tyrese Martin may be a back end rotational player. Keon Johnson, not an NBA player. Jalen Wilson, not an NBA player. I get it. Like Tosan from Walmart might be a back end rotational player. I get what you guys say, but here's what I want to ask: if the Nets are the least talented team, besides possibly Washington, I don't disagree. But here's my question: if they were fully healthy, if you had you have Jordy as your head coach, I want LBL and Breezy to kind of battle back and forth on this. You have a rotation, a starting lineup of D'Lo at the 1, Cam Thomas at the 2, Cam Johnson at the 3, Clowney at the 4, Claxton Sharp at the 5. That's a playing team at least, isn't it? And I'll let LBL, Breezy, you go first. I want LBL to rebut that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you take Cam Thomas out the lineup, and again, let's talk basketball, right, Gary? At the end of the day, with Brooklyn Nets, they do a good job of getting stops, and I see them get like 3 stops in a row, and they did that multiple times last game, even part of the reason why they went up 50-48. Now, I only said that to say, without Cam Thomas, those 3 stops don't matter. Because you don't have nobody to shot create. When the X's and O's not working, and all of the better teams score on fast breaks. They scoring because they getting to the basket before the 24-second shot clock. They getting fast break points. The better teams in the NBA always get fast break points. And as much as I say he don't push the pace like a Ben Simmons and this and that, defenses pay attention to him as soon as that ball on the rebound. They know they got to watch Cam Thomas. They know he'll go to the paint. They know he want to get to the rim. He want to get to the free throw line. They know he could stop and pop for 3. And this, again, because he's the number 27th pick, I won't let Net fans disrespect him. Because at the end of the day, when it comes down to shot creation, that's the name of the game. And they in the NBA know that, and the Brooklyn Nets know that. And as much as they talk all of that stuff about Nets fans that I disagree with, about the trade deadline and not having trade Cam Thomas on this team, it was quiet. Just like that, when I finished, when I say it was quiet, it wasn't no trade. People could say whatever they want. Ain't nothing solidified. And I ain't hear nothing from CJ Holmes. I ain't hear nothing from nobody. They can have all of these this and that. It's because the Nets do know the value Cam Thomas for whatever the reason, even if it is because, you know what I'm saying, whatever reasons they got. But trust me, the fans back Cam Thomas for the most part. And saying he's not an essential part of the, saying he's not an essential part.
You want to jump in, Dylan?
Oh, and saying, hold on, because I'm talking.
Let him land the plane and let me get Dylan.
Yeah, and to land the plane, when you building a championship roster, you need shot creation. Regardless of who you pick and how fancy you say it, you need shot creation. And Cam Thomas gives you that already. With him being a draft pick, puts him in favor of how the CBA play the rules now. So, yeah.
Here's the problem, and we had this discussion before we started this. The fans who absolutely love Cam Thomas, such as yourself, the biggest problem with this is simply knowing that they need to pick a direction to solidify what Cam Thomas is to this team. If they do not draft high in the next 2 draft classes, I can guarantee you Cam Thomas is going to be traded for a superstar. That is just how it is going to end up. You cannot get Giannis and keep Cam Thomas. It is not
no. Don't run with this narrative about us getting Giannis. Bro.
I don't want Giannis.
Healthy, bro.
I don't want Giannis. I've stuck to this point the whole time, but the problem is that the front office believes otherwise.
No, they don't. Why would they look at that? Look at now, right now. Bobby Portis is out.
Go look at Brian Lewis's report last night. Brian Lewis is the earpiece to Sean Marks. We've known this for 4 years now. everything that Brian Lewis posts comes from Sean Marks. If he's
don't
saying
make it
that
right.
Brooklyn wants Giannis, if he becomes available, and that's what they're positioning themselves for, and the reason why they kept Cam Johnson, then you are going to be moving Cam Thomas, which is why I've told people, if you love Cam Thomas so much, then fully invest in the tank. Because if you're not drafting 2 top 5 guys in the next 2 years, Cam Thomas is being flipped for a superstar.
But no. But what I'm saying is that's what I'm saying is that's the narrative you're painting. I'm not painting that. I'm saying that they got
the narrative.
Listen. You got to listen to what my narrative is, opposed to what you perceive it is. Because I hear what you're saying, but I'm not that guy. Like guy A and guy B, the guy you're describing, that's not my picture that I'm painting. The picture that I'm painting is saying that Cam Thomas is with the whole thing. He know what it is, and he know far as shot creation, he the best one on the team. And if they was going to be second, it got be second to who? And again, that's how the teams win. When you got 2 players on any championship roster, they need shot creation. Cam Thomas fixes that problem regardless of how fancy you say their names, how much you say it, and what they are projected to do. Cam Thomas is doing it. He did it next to KD, to Ed Sumner. So again, these dudes, what I'm saying at the end of the day, regardless of who you say, Cam Thomas is battle tested. These guys that's going to be part of the league, they're not guaranteed to come here, and that's a fact.
Breezy, I don't think
saying all of this off of a lottery. We got a sure thing.
Narrative. I don't think you're hearing me. This isn't a narrative. This is what the front office believes.
But what I'm saying, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Hold on. I'm glad you said that. No, Dylan, you got to know this. Hold on.
Planning to do.
No, Dylan,
get a superstar without moving Cam Thomas, which is my point.
No, Dylan, this is no, Dylan, this is what I'm trying to tell you.
Hearing me.
No, I heard what you said, but no,
you're stuck on me saying Cam Thomas trade.
No, you're not understanding.
Listen to the rest.
No, you're not understanding what I'm saying. I know that the Brooklyn Nets is unpredictable. I'm telling you, I don't try to predict what the Brooklyn Nets do. I'm telling you, as a Nets fan, as big fan Breezy, what I think the Brooklyn Nets should do and why they should do it and how it behooves them and the Nets. So again, hold on. I speak from a narrative from me, not what I think they going to do. I'm not trying to predict what the Brooklyn Nets are going to do. I'm telling you what I want them to do. I want them to listen to the podcast. Like, yo, I fucks with Big Fan Breezy. He really want to win with us. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to predict what they're going to do. I'm telling you what they should do.
I understand you're telling me what they should do, but reality is showing that because they did not pick and invest fully in the direction of tanking, that Cam Thomas's name is going to be the name that gets brought up in any deal for a superstar. If they really didn't move Cam Johnson at the deadline because of the simple fact that they feel they have a even 1% chance of gaining a guy like Giannis.
Put a name on that. No, put a name on that. I'm not jacking that. That just sound nice. Put a name on that. Name a superstar. Don't jazz me with your words. Name a superstar. I dare you.
Giannis. Brian Lewis reported it, saying that is who we're waiting on.
Hold on. No. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Why would you have no integrity to the culture of the fan base? And just totally bow. Hold on. Why would you bow to Giannis when he hurt Kyrie on purpose? And that shit is
when the organization.
No, you take the soul out of the fan base, bro. I can't let you do that, bro.
Tell me when
I can't let them do that, bro. You take the soul out of the fan base if you get a play that hurt Kyrie. The only reason why they won a championship is because Giannis hurt Kyrie and you wanted him on a team.
Breezy.
Let me finish here. Hold on. When have they done anything for the fan base? They traded D'Lo for KD. They traded KD and Kyrie for a bag of chips. They haven't fully invested into the tank, in which is these next 2 years were the best years to rebuild.
Giannis missed the playoffs last year.
And now they're talking about
Giannis missed the playoffs last year.
No, he got bumped in the first round.
He got bumped in the first round. He just didn't play. He just didn't play.
I don't think
he just didn't play in the playoffs. Hold on, you got the nerve to say he just didn't play in the playoffs. What else he got to do?
No, Breezy. Can I be real with you? You're talking about the integrity and the culture of.
Can I finish?
Nah.
Yeah, let Dylan land the plane. Let Dylan land the plane.
I keep saying
this has been good.
I can't let you give it to me like that.
That I want Giannis. I don't want Giannis. I do not want him. You're not understanding the words that I'm speaking. I do not want Giannis in Brooklyn. I'm telling you, though, that because they refuse to move Cam Johnson, they are putting themselves in a position to go after Giannis. And you don't get a superstar without moving Cam Thomas. That is a fact, which is why I keep telling you.
Put up that comment. Hold on. Let me just clean my hands on this. Let me clean my hands. I have no intentions of hurting nobody.
Whoa. That's a little much.
Bad joke.
It's a joke.
Wow.
This joke. Disclaimer.
Yikes.
Fact.
Breezy's not gonna kill Sean Marks.
I didn't say anything along those lines, but I'm just saying again. You just imagine something going down. You like this shit ain't gotta go down like that. Hey, Dylan, you gotta know. I don't do this podcast for them to say, "Oh yeah, I like Breezy." I know my ideas. Hey, G. But all I'm saying is, I don't do it for them to agree with me. I'll do it for like, yo, as a fan, this is my perspective on what I think a championship team
and
is.
Perspective is great. I'm just giving you it how it is. This is the reality.
Bro. They gotta listen to these. Hold on, you don't think they listen to the fans? You don't think they listen to
next
to the
fans?
You don't think they listen to us?
If they listen to the fans, wouldn't Kyrie and KD still be on the team?
Nah,
wouldn't they
that's
have
different.
Not traded for Paul
That's
Pierce
different. That's different.
Wouldn't they have moved Mikal Bridges earlier for our own picks back? Wouldn't they have fully invested in this tank this year? They don't listen to us.
Nah, I think that's a little different. I think because of keeping Cam Thomas is part of them listening to the fans too. Because at the end of the day, you got to realize Jared Allen was a fan favorite. The Fro and Sean Marks. The Nets fans gave him hell for that. They gave him pure.
And what did he do? He moved.
No, I'm saying they didn't know. I'm talking about after the fact. So, and we didn't they hold on to that shit until this day. So what I'm saying is he not trying to make the same mistakes he made. Out 7 clean up. He cleaned that mess up. Now he like, all right, I'm going to go forward.
What do you mean? He's making the same mistakes as Bobby King did. He's refusing to rebuild.
You don't think this is a rebuild?
This is not a rebuild. If you were rebuilding, Cam Johnson would not.
I know D'Lo out. And Killian Hayes ain't going to score the ball for us. If Killian Hayes play like that,
let me transition on that. This is good. He brought up Cam Johnson. I want to transition into this, and I want to hear from John first, and I want to go around the panel. But let me. Cam Johnson still is here, which means I don't disagree with Dylan that it's not a rebuild. But like, what is it then? Like, if it's not a rebuild. What is it? And I want to play this comment from Sean Marks. I'm going to play the whole 30 seconds.
He's a voice of reason. He's well respected within that locker room. He's a pro's pro. So if people can learn from somebody, learn from Cam Johnson. That's a great guy to pick up habits from. We're enjoying seeing some of these young guys develop and this roster continue to grow under Jordy's tutelage. So I think for us, it was like, just stay pat. We haven't seen enough of some guys because they've been hurt. And then we made a few of our moves early on in the year. With Cam, there was a lot of interest in him, like there was a lot of interest in a lot of our guys. But we like Cam, and I think Cam fits multiple different builds that we're doing. He's a voice of reason. He's well respected within that locker room. He's a pro's pro. So if people can learn from somebody, learn from Cam Johnson.
All right, to me, this is an absolutely staggering clip. We made our moves early in the season, which means that they really weren't. Oh, we lost LBL. We really weren't looking to move him. Is that kind of, and he fits multiple different builds, which means that they're not necessarily rebuilding. Like, I don't know. This is just a shocking comment to me. It shows that there's no direction. I don't even understand what the hell he's thinking. I don't see his blueprint, his big plan. I don't see anything other than, well, I kind of like Cam Johnson. He's a good guy to have on the team, so we're going to keep him no matter what. Yeah. That's what I took from that. John, is that kind of what you took? Is this shocking to you? I couldn't believe what I was listening to.
It's not only not shocking as I expected this based on what he's done this season, but just to clarify it, when you're actually on something like The Bridge, where it's pretty much an inside depth into like the minds of some of these people, to hear them what he's saying, I think Sean Marks needs a doctor or a psychologist because it makes no sense what he's saying. We got to learn from Cam Johnson, a guy who was averaging 13 points most of his career as a lottery pick, and now he's on his team having 3 great months. This guy goes on podcasts trying to act all philosophic, like, oh, this is how I would do the All-Star game. Oh, this is how I would do this. Bro, you are boring. He's more boring than rice pudding right now, and he's acting like this guy is special to us. Cam Johnson's not special. Everybody's talking about Mikal Bridges when we traded Kevin Durant for him in those picks. When we talk about Cam Johnson, oh, this guy's gonna be so valuable to the team. We are waiting to get this guy off the team. He's the appendix right now, and he's condescending Brooklyn Nets fans saying, "Oh, you're not a real fan if you don't support me, bro." I not only do not want to support you, I will put the team before you any day of the week, Cam Johnson. And to Sean Marks' points, like this whole season has made no sense. So we didn't have enough time to evaluate this team properly. This is a junkyard team. This is not a legit team. What are we evaluating with the team? It's supposed to be what players can you get the most value for and who might be here next year. And he says, oh, because Dayron and Wofford were out for a while, I couldn't move Johnson or Claxton. Bull crap. I'm calling bull crap all day on that. And you had half the league that wanted Cam Johnson. And he's saying, oh, this guy's a great vet. These young guys can learn from him. Half the team won't be here 3 to 4 years to learn from him, Sean Marks. Like, this is so ass backward the way this whole thing is going about. And Breezy, you talk about integrity and culture and all this. Sean Marks sold that down the boat when he got Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and James. And then he took on Ben Simmons' atrocious contract, the Bernie Madoff of basketball, Ben Simmons. And that guy crapped all over us collecting money. And people are like, oh, Ben is so much happier on the Clippers. What do you have to be sad about? The dude was getting paid $80 million to 100 the last 3 years to do nothing, essentially, because Sean Marks allowed it. So, Breezy, as much as you try to defend him because he has Cam Thomas on the team, I know you're smart enough to know that nothing is guaranteed on his team. And as good as Cam Thomas tries to be, it just seems like Sean Marks has bigger plans for a star that might not include Thomas, and that's his fault. It's not your fault or my fault. It's because Sean Marks only knows what he knows, which is get stars, sell tickets, and hope it works. That is the game plan. That is the blueprint that he's trying to sell us right now, and I think it's a load of crap, especially when you have your own picks.
Yo, I don't know. I can't agree that the NBA wouldn't invest in the Brooklyn Nets, knowing that we share the same city. And like I tell Gary, I'm gonna say every stream, they getting money. They could get more money if they had a Brooklyn Nets win in the city because they getting money over there. Dallas, Spurs, the Rockets, they getting money. That's triple money right there. The Brooklyn Nets win the championship. That's more money. You know what I'm saying? Like, is all the reasons why all of the arrows point to, you know, the right way to get this money. If you want to get the money with the Brooklyn Nets, you do the right way. You do it through the draft because of the CBA says so. You're not going to be able to have all of these free agents. And even if you do, that shit don't guarantee a win. Look at Phoenix Suns and Clippers and etc. There's teams that try to get put together with free agents and don't win. The recipe, in my opinion, more of the recipe, the ingredients is winning from the draft, getting the talent from the draft. I agree that it's hard to say, but what I will say is the top three guys, the top three tankers, you got to respect their top tier tanking. I don't want y'all to think that Sean Marks doing the wrong thing because we ain't got the last three worst record. You know what I'm saying? Because again, emphasis on he had to prove to Joe Tsai that he had the right guy as far as picking a head coach. Shit, they picked their friend in Steve Nash, and then they just put Jacques Vaughn there. But they realize if you're going to build something from the GM perspective down, it has to start with the head coach, not a player.
Breezy, let me ask you a question on that real quick. From listening to that 30-second clip of listening to him to talk about Cam Johnson, what's your take? What is his blueprint? Is it win now? Is it make the playoffs? Is it what do you take from that? Like, to me, that seems like a clueless response where he doesn't know what direction the team is going. But what do you take away from that clip?
I think that it was good for him to see a player that wanted to be there. A lot of players didn't want to be there. Harden, let's call it what it is. He did what he did so he could get to be with Daryl Morey in the 76ers.
Cam Johnson wants to be there because he's grossly overpaid. That's why he wants to be. I'd want to be here too.
Hey, thank you, Gary, for some logic here. Come on.
Podium pouting when he got traded here, acting like it was the end of the fucking world.
He was.
And he got paid $22.5 million a year, and now he wants to be buddy. He can go fuck himself.
Cam Johnson's
and Sean Marks' mistakes, if y'all want to be specific, Sean Marks' mistake was giving the GM responsibilities to KD and letting him get Jordan minutes over Allen. Gave minutes to Jordan over Jaren Allen, and Jaren Allen got traded because of DeAndre Jordan because KD figured he could build a championship team with his friend Jordan. And when that was the mistake that he made. So when y'all saying this and that, I'm being specific about the mistakes that he made.
But Breezy,
let me get LBL. Let me get your thoughts on this.
Wasn't your original question to Breezy and I about if everyone were healthy, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if everyone were healthy, like, meaning Cam and both Cams and D'Lo, right? Then we would win enough games to get in the play-in, and we would probably get, somewhere past the 10th pick, right? So what I'm saying is, how does that set us up going into the future? That team is not going to win against.
I'm not saying it does, LBL. I'm just saying, like, you guys want to tank.
No, I'm talking about because Breezy is like, nah, we're good because now we got the draft pick coming in. Will be less than 10. We have Cam Johnson, who's averaging 19. We got Cam Thomas, who's averaging
LBL. Hold on, LBL.
Good.
Do you accept that the Brooklyn Nets weren't going to be the top tankers in this season? Like, are you putting that on Sean Marks? Like, do you think we would have been the worst three teams? Because the worst three teams, they're top tier tanking teams.
I'm saying we're tanking. The Sixers are tied with us.
No. But bro, okay, I'm saying
they tanking.
Bro, but what I'm saying is, I'm not talking about the Sixers. I'm
talking
about
we have
the top
to talk
three.
About all the teams in front of us.
Bro, no. What I'm saying is we tie with the Sixers, right? I'm talking about the teams that have a worse team because the top three picks. The whole argument with Sean Marks is why we not the worst three teams. And I'm saying that's hard to do when you got to prove to Joe's side that you got the right guy in Jordi Fernandez. That was important.
He doesn't have to prove that to Joe's side. They already got it wrong twice with Nash and with Vaughn.
Right. That's why he had to prove it to him.
No, he doesn't have to prove anything.
Yes, he did.
If we never,
hold on, you think this team could win with just talent? That's not fair. KD and Kyrie.
If Jordy had a Chris Finch, injury, right, and he couldn't finish out this season on the bench or whatever, we would still keep him.
LBL. What I'm saying is this:
he's already proven he's a coach.
Listen, what I'm saying is this: when Steve Nash seen that Joe Harris wasn't knocking down a shot, if Jordi Fernandez is in that same situation and Joe Harris is not knocking down a shot, Jordi Fernandez is calling on audible. All right, cool. We're gonna put in Tyrese Martin or somebody like that. He's gonna call an audible. That's why I'm saying coaching is important. And y'all keep ignoring why. And now I'm being specific with my example.
The same thing. So why are you giving that much credit to him because Nash is an idiot? That doesn't
let me bring Dylan. I haven't heard from Dylan on this. Let me bring Dylan in.
But I want to say
because you ignoring the point. The point is that
let me get Dylan in. Let me Dylan's been real quiet, and I know he doesn't want to be quiet on Sean Marks. Give me your reaction to this. To me, this is like shocking. Like this is like completely moron. This is like idiotic. I can't believe how dumb what he's saying is. It's just completely clueless to me. Give me your thoughts on that little 30-second clip of why Cam Johnson is still here, Dylan.
And then I will.
The 30 seconds just proves that Sean Marks is incapable of being a GM. There's no other description that you can give that shows that this guy is professional enough to run an organization. You think Cam Johnson, the career 13.5 points per game, plays less than 55 games a season due to injury? This is his healthiest season ever, and he's still been out 2 or 3 times with ankle injuries. You think this is the guy who came in pouting and complaining that he got traded here for Kevin Durant and this and that? That's the guy that's supposed to be the locker room piece. He's sitting in that locker room with an ego thinking, oh, all right, well, they didn't trade me. They traded me here. They gave up on me in Phoenix. I'm here by myself. These fans don't even like me. Why should I do what they want? He's going out there playing his ass off every single game simply to make a name for himself, not to better this organization. And I don't care what people say. I'm not asking for players to purposely tank, but I'm also not asking for a player to sit there on the weekend of All-Star Week and being like, well, if you want to tank them, you're not a real fan. Fuck you. You're not a player that I even see as a focal point to this team. Even on a championship roster, Cam Johnson at best is a 4th or 5th option. The guy is not good. And there was no reason to keep him when his value was raised to the point where it was.
Dylan, can I ask you a question about him? It's if you close your eyes and you listen to the first part of the 30 seconds, right? Couldn't Marks have made all those same attributes to Dennis Schroeder?
Dennis Schroeder was more impactful to this locker room than
No,
Cam
but that's
Thomas
what I'm
was.
trying to say. So when he's
That's
saying
that's
that
that's
stuff
what I'm
about
saying. He has an
leadership
attachment
and
issue with
role
guys that he
model and all
pays.
that stuff, then why did you trade Dennis Schroeder?
That's my point.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. He is so confusing. He is
He's
Well,
literally.
he said
way
he
more
made his
of a
moves.
leader.
He
He's
had
not
a
Schroeder was
quote or
way
confusing.
something
more of
on
a
moves he
leader
had to
than.
make it. He made them, so he didn't have to look. Look, let me ask you this question: if the only offer you got, which we know the offer was legitimate, was Harrison Barnes, an expiring deal, who you could also buy out, right? It'd be a great buyout option.
Well, next year he's expiring, but yeah.
What was that? Well, next year, yeah, right.
Next year he's an expiring. So either
Right.
way, not a guy
That's
that
the
impacts.
only deal you were offered. No other deal. Which we know that's not true. We know there are 11 teams that checked in on him. But if the only team that checked in on were the Spurs, and they said Barnes and a 1, don't you just make the deal and call it a day? Get the contract off the books and get the 1?
Yes.
That is simple common sense.
Yeah.
Which I understand isn't common anymore. But there's no world where you don't take a deal like that. Same thing with Memphis. It was confirmed for them. Look at what they gave to they gave Washington Marcus Smart and a first for a bag of empty chips.
I'll make that trade. Yeah.
But my point about Marks is that was a disingenuous quote, because everything that he said, he could have said about Schroeder and kept Schroeder and traded Johnson, but he didn't. So therefore, he's a liar. He's a liar. And
well, let me ask you this, and then I'll get from Breezy and John too. Do you think he's a liar, or do you think he's just an idiot? Right? Because you can just be an idiot, and it looks like you're being dishonest, but you're actually just really stupid. You don't understand that you're being hypocritical, right? I mean, do you think he's lying? Do you think, or do you think he's an idiot and he doesn't understand what you just explained?
I think that I'll give you that he could be just an idiot because this guy Schroeder was a leader on our team from day one.
Yeah,
day one, and he remember that incident with the fan taunting Ben Simmons. Who went back to talk to the fan?
Schroeder.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And so everything that he does on and off the court, he was a professional, and and he played his butt off, and he deserved to go on. But I'm saying, if you were really talking about which guy, and look what he did in the Summer Olympics, then that's the leader that you want other guys to emulate, not this other guy. So please save me all of that.
Seriously.
LBL, Breezy, the clip, Cam Johnson still here. The reasons why. What are your thoughts on that? And what is Sean Marks' plan? Like, what's his blueprint? What's his direction?
I just think it's what he said. I can't read into it much because it's just what he said. And again, I really feel like, free agents dissed him, bro. KD said, you want me to come back on the team? Fire Sean Marks, you know what I mean? And the head coach. Imagine as a GM, you're a new GM, and a free agent said that to you. But then you got Cam
Why would
Johnson.
he want to leave?
This is Kevin Durant we're talking about, Greaves. This is not no regular guy who just got here.
Hold on.
No,
KD want to leave.
But what I'm saying is, hold on, y'all talking at the same time.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to ask you why KD would leave if Cam Thomas was all that. Why didn't he just team up with Cam Thomas and stay?
I didn't hear what you said.
I said if Cam Thomas was the future of this team, why didn't KD just stay with Cam Thomas and let both of them rock out?
Because I question the integrity of KD and teammates. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like, KD left Westbrook and you want to be mad? You wanted me to be surprised that he left Cam Thomas? Come on, man. So all I'm saying is, don't be mad at Cam Thomas for that. Don't be mad at KD for seeing that Steve Nash not a good coach. Like he said, when he got there, the head coach was already picked. The way he got Jordy Fernandez, he did like a survey to ask all the other GMs who should be the next head coach. He did the leg work. He put the necessary work in to pick a good head coach. Like I said, he needed to prove that to Josiah to make sure he's still a GM. Because from prior, it showed, regardless of how talented your stars are, you need more than that to build a championship roster.
Here's my point, though, right? Jason Kidd got Byron Scott fired. He did. We could say he didn't, but he did, right? They went out, they played like trash, he got him fired. When Kevin Durant went to the media and said, I want Sean Marks fired, they got off to a slow start. That was the time to fire Sean Marks. It was, right? Like,
wow.
I understand that it's a bad theatrical thing. But if I said to you, okay, you can keep your supermodel 10 out of 10 wife, or you can have this dog with fleas. And and the wife said, if you want to keep me, get rid of that dog with fleas, right? What would you do? You'd get rid of the dog with fleas, not the supermodel wife, right? Sean Marks kept the dog with fleas and got rid of the supermodel wife. Like, that's what he did.
Hold on. Did you see KD and Kyrie give up on each other after they lost that first game in Boston? Hold on. Did you see, Gary? Did you see, even though we had an 18-2 record, those 2 losses was more important than those 18 wins because those 2 losses were to Boston and those KD and Kyrie, they didn't want to trust each other to compete. Y'all mad at Sean Marks for that?
It wasn't
Breezy. If you were the owner,
it wasn't the losses. It was the money that Kyrie was requesting. It was not about losses. Kyrie got money hungry because he
I'm in the chat.
Nike.
I got a
Signed
plan
his
to win. I'm
stepmother
in the
as his
chat,
agent.
man.
They were money hungry. That's all that was.
Breezy, if you were the owner, you wouldn't have let Sean Marks go when you knew that keeping the guy who, by the way, we still have prime years left to Kevin Durant. Look what he's doing right now. Even on a bad team like the Suns, he is still their best player, averaging over 30 points. Like, we could have still had that. And he was having fun with the young guys. You watch the games where Breezy, if you just watch the games where it's just Kevin Durant with the young guys, he was playing well. Like, we could have still done that. But you keep Sean Marks because I guess he's your economic buddy because you're making money on the side. Like, Joe Tsai's on a lot of this AI technology stuff, and it's like, if your focus isn't on the team as a whole and getting better, why are you two in charge of the team? Give it to somebody that actually cares about basketball 100,000 million% of the time. Because when I look at Sean and Joe Tsai, I don't see a commitment to this team. I see outside commitments. I see, spinning lines and all that. I don't see an actual commitment to building legit contenders. I feel like the blueprint is they're going to do what they always knew. Get the stars and hope and pray that it works. But instead of hoping and praying, why not just do the right things to get the right talent? Like, that's the problem. We have an organization that doesn't know what they're doing. And to say that we should follow Scam Johnson's lead when he just degraded all of us, the people that actually are talking about this game, because let's keep it 100. There are a lot of Brooklyn fans that probably aren't watching this season because they thought it wasn't going to be that good. But there's still guys like us, win, lose, or draw. We still talk about what's going on. But to have to fall back on that when this guy degraded us, no, Sean Marks, I'm not following Scam Johnson to the ridiculous promised land that doesn't exist, the mirage, that this junkyard squad that's been created. It's not going to do much. Like, we need to actually wake up to reality. I feel like Sean and Joe haven't woken up to reality that there's no big three anymore. Just getting Giannis is not going to guarantee nothing. If either you know what you're doing or you should give it over to somebody that actually knows what they're going to do to get this team right. Because I don't like the direction right now. It just doesn't feel right.
You mentioned his name again. His name keeps coming up. Giannis. Cam Johnson was kept for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go around the panel. I'll start with you, John, because you mentioned his name. Was Cam Johnson kept to hopefully move him in a trade for Giannis in the offseason?
100 million%. It doesn't have to be Giannis. A superstar. And Giannis has been the guy we've most been connected to. You also have Claxton as well. You have the cap space. You have Cam Thomas. Like, you have the assets to make an offer for him. So maybe that's what they want to do. But at the same time, you give up all his assets to get one superstar. And I'll give you this. Everybody says Giannis is injury prone. He's not in good shape. This guy's in the best physical condition. Look at his stats right now. He's in the top of the league. He's just on a really bad team with low depth. And he's been having to kill himself on the court this year, and the injuries are catching up with him. Now, if you put him on this team, will this depth be better than what the Bucks have? That's the real question I have if we make this Giannis move. Can we find some people in this free agency and the next one to cobble something together? I don't know, because Sean Marks has shown you he's willing to sign the Andrew Bembry's, the Paul Millsaps of the NBA. And those guys can't hold a torch for more than 5 minutes. Like, my nightmare scenario would be if we get Giannis, he has to play 40 minutes a night. He gets a 5-minute break. We had that when Kevin Durant was here. We can't do that again. You're just hoping and praying that as long as Giannis is healthy, you're a top seed. But he's injured, we're a bottom playing team, and then we're screwed. Like, if we make this move for Giannis, I wish we had the right management. If we made a move for Giannis and got a second star and we had better management, I could see us cobble something sustainable potentially. But with Sean and Joe, I just don't know. I don't think they have the game plan to construct the right roster around Giannis right now. But they might make the move. That's what we have to prepare ourselves for potentially.
Dylan, same question to you. Cam Johnson is still here. He's obviously here for some reason. It seems like Sean Marks is kind of just playing this day by day. Is Cam Johnson here because Marks wants to include him in a trade for Giannis or some other big name superstar in the offseason?
Hell no. Cam Johnson was kept because he's going to be the role player that they want to sell us on to play next to a guy like Giannis. Like, realistically, look at what they have over in Milwaukee when they won a championship. They had Drew Holiday, and they had Chris Middleton. That was it. This year, they have Damian Lillard, who puts up the same amount of points per game pretty much as Cam Thomas does. Okay, 6. What you're saying is we're at best a 10th seed. Now you factor in the fact that you have Cam Johnson, who's a slight upgrade over Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton, when healthy, is better than Cam Johnson, and I will stand by that. So pretty much what you're saying is we are the 7th seed in the East with Giannis, Cam Johnson. And to top it off, you're not going to be able to keep Cam Thomas. He will likely be a sign-in trade for a guy like Giannis. So you're taking away 25-plus points per game already. It doesn't work. De'Aaron Fox is gone. He's not tradable. Ja Morant, the rumors are shut down. The best available point guard at that point is Trae Young. Okay, sick. Let's bring in a guy who can't play defense. Let's add him to a guy who his usage rating is above 30%, so he's going to be hurt by the end of the season like he is every year. It's just there's nothing sustainable about getting Giannis. If he wants to come here, he can wait a season or two, opt out of his contract, and sign here. But there's no reason to give up 6 or 7 first-round picks for a guy like that because, again, the thing is you're looking at James Harden 2.0. He is the same age as Harden was when we traded for him, putting up similar stats and having multiple MVPs within a certain year frame of when we got him. Harden had an MVP within his 2 years of us getting him. Giannis has had an MVP in the last, 3 or 4 years, and he's won it twice. It's the same exact trade that you're going to be looking at.
Let me push back on that a little bit, Dylan. James Harden was fat and undisciplined. Giannis is a physical specimen who you would imagine, is going to play well into it. Not well, but he has 3 or 4 more prime years left. James Harden was 20 pounds overweight. He kind of knew he had issues. You knew he wasn't going to play at that level.
He came here averaging 24 and 13 assists almost. He was top 7 in MVP voting the year that we got him.
He was.
It's not like we got a dog shit player like Ben Simmons. Like, we literally had a solidified. James Harden was a secondary primary option to Kevin Durant, not Kyrie Irving. Harden was that second option the year that they were all together for that short amount of time. Harden was better than Kyrie that season. That is just a fact.
Yeah, it's true.
So again, it's like you're trading. That's a similar package that you're looking at for Giannis. So you're talking Cam Thomas, likely Nick Claxton, because Brook Lopez is going to retire most likely. So they need a center. They need the best player on your team, which is Cam Thomas. You packaging those two together plus a potential third piece in that deal, which is likely to be either Noah Clowney or Dariq Whitehead. And then you're talking about 5 first-round picks because we have the draft capital to outbid a team. That's not worth it. There is nothing worth it in any scenario to get rid of 2 of your top 5 players on your team plus a shitload of draft capital for one singular guy that you still can't build around. There's not a star in free agency that you can go trade for. And if you trade Cam Thomas and Claxton for Giannis, then you have no more trade pieces to actually go out and get a star in another trade. So what's the point? There's not a single actual piece of evidence that a single person can give me that shows why it's a smart idea. The only right option at this current point in time, based on when we got our picks back, was to tank, was to bottom out and rebuild for 2 years. Because you could add Giannis and Luka to this team, and they are still not making it out of the East. Because Boston is better. New York has a more well-rounded starting 5. Cleveland is better. Orlando's a missing piece away at point guard from being an actual contender. This team has no depth if you go in for it
first. I got to see him win in the playoffs.
Yeah, I got to see with Cleveland too. We had a lead over them last night. I don't know about them right now.
Either way, the point is that this team is not winning a damn thing for at least 3 years.
I don't disagree with your point. LBL, I haven't heard from you on this. What are your thoughts?
I'm not even as optimistic as Dylan is in terms of we would be able to swing a deal for Giannis. And the reason I say that is
I don't know that we could, but I'm saying, is that Sean Marks thinking?
The reason I'm saying that is because I feel like it wouldn't be this year unless we landed like one of the top 3 guys. I feel like they want a potential. I feel like the Bucks want a potential superstar back for their franchise superstar, and I don't think that Thomas is enough of that. And the combination of Thomas and other starters is still not enough of that to sell to the Milwaukee fan base. So that's why. I mean, now if you said, well, if we got an Ace Bailey or someone like that, and then they said, well, trade us Ace Bailey and we'll give you Giannis, and trade us Ace Bailey among those pieces and plus other draft picks, then I think they would go for that because it's easier for them to sell the potential of that person than it is to sell Cam Thomas. And one thing that I would say, add on about Breezy talking about Giannis's durability, there's no way any Cam Thomas fan could ever talk about the durability of Giannis when Giannis has been out here and played 80 and 75 games a whole bunch of times, and the most games Cam Thomas ever played was the 65 or 66 that he played. And I'm not talking about like with Vaughn when he withheld him, but I'm talking about he's been hurt a lot. So if he's really hurt, but I'm saying there's no way I would look at Giannis and say, well, okay, when Giannis was 23, he didn't miss games like that. You know what I mean? I can say that. But in terms of what you're saying, I think that as far as I'm not as confident as Dylan that we would actually be able to swing a deal. What makes the most sense is what he said to do. That remember how the Nets wanted Carmelo Anthony when we were in Jersey, and the Knicks went ahead of us and swung that deal where they gave up half of their team and draft picks. So to get Melo, and I was thinking they jumped the gun because if they would have just waited till the end of the year, Melo probably still would have signed as a free agent, But that's what I feel like what Dylan says there makes more sense. If Giannis really wants to come, let him come with a team that already has foundational young pieces and let him be that veteran presence. But other than that, it's like, why are you trading all of this? We don't want to be a 7th or 8th seed for the next 5 years. And that's what we'll be if we get a superstar and deplete all of our other assets.
Yeah, but like, I don't disagree with you. Okay, but here's my point. If let's say Giannis has 4 peak years left, 4 years of him being Giannis, if that you put that guy in the draft, where does he go in the draft? 1. He does, right? So, like I'm not saying that they should.
But didn't you just say he has about 3 years left?
I said 4. Yeah, 4 years left.
But I'm saying his 3 peak years, which you're talking about like MVP like years, I think I would trade. I think I would rather go with getting possibly two guys who are 18 or 19 years old, the next 2 picks. And
you're not getting that. Like it's Ace Bailey or whoever you like. That
no, I'm saying it's that person this year plus whoever we get next year. So I'm saying I would rather roll with that going into the next 10 years than I would with just 3 peak years.
You can't tank properly this year. What makes you think you're going to tank better next year when you have Ace Bailey on the team? So next year you're going to have
when hopefully we miss out on Giannis and another team outbids us. Plus Sean Marks sees that the 8th overall pick isn't going to fucking do anything for you. Maybe that'll be the wake up call.
So you want to bench Cam Thomas for most of the season again next year too, right?
No, I wouldn't say bench him. He's a young player. He doesn't win games on his own. It's not possible. He just scores. He's not going to win you a game on his own. Here's the thought process.
He's played 19 games this year. If he played 80 games this year, we'd have a lot more wins. We would.
Maybe with the current roster, sure. But again, he started the season off with Dennis Schroeder. He started the season off with DFS. They are not here. D'Lo's an expiring contract. You can do the easiest things possibly known to man, which is simply don't bring him back. Give Killian Hayes a contract. Give him the starting point guard role next season. There's 8 solidified roster spots on this team for next season. I can pull it up right now. I believe it's Nick Claxton, Cam Johnson, Tyrese Martin, Noah Clowney. Going blank on a few names. Jalen Wilson, Maxwell Lewis. Who else? There's 2 more.
Well, Keon Johnson.
Keon Johnson's another one.
These are some names.
The last one.
Some
hold on.
names.
I'm pulling up the list right now. Oh, sorry. Dariq Whitehead. That's 8 solidified players on this roster for next season. Okay, D'Lo's gone. Cam Thomas and Zaire Williams are likely coming back, so that's 10. You have 5 draft picks this year. If you use them all, that's your roster.
And we're going to hope that none of those guys really work out and help you win. Like, what I'm saying is you guys want to tank all these years in a row, like Detroit and Charlotte.
All these years. That's 2 years.
Right. I've never seen this work before, ever. I've never seen a team say, we're going to be really bad for all these seasons, and then one day we just get good. It doesn't happen.
The Pistons are the 6th seed in the East.
They're 500, so that's your goal. So after 5 years of tanking, the goal is to be 500. We could just get Giannis to be 500.
Cade Cunningham wasn't healthy last year.
Gary
Cunningham wasn't healthy last year.
I agree.
Gary, how many years have we been tanking?
Well, this would be 1.
Exactly.
So give me 2 to 3 years.
Would be 2. That's it.
Well, not even. I mean, are you considering this tanking? I mean, if it's tanking, it's a really bad
not
job.
tanking.
Which is why I'm
saying tanking,
for
man.
another season. Point is that if you say you move on from Cam Johnson over the offseason, so again, you bring back Cam Thomas, you bring back Zaire Williams, that's 10 players in the roster. You draft, let's just say figuratively 4 players, because I doubt we're using all 5. 4 picks, that's 14 players in the roster. You trade Cam Johnson for 2 contracts and a pick. That's your 15-man roster. That team is not winning more than 24 games. I can promise you that. Because it does not have the veteran leadership like it does currently when it started the season off with Schroeder and DFS, or it didn't have it towards the end of the season like we've had with Cam Johnson and D'Angelo Russell. Those 2 problems right there are already wiped out with that roster that I'm providing you. Your best and most valuable veteran on the roster is Nick Claxton now, who wants to be Dennis Rodman. So guess what? I don't see more than 25 wins, and that's how you tank. Tucson's on a 2-year, 2-way deal, so we don't even have to worry about actually giving him a standard deal. But Sean Marks is also an idiot, and he will give him a standard deal probably.
Yeah, I just see like bad teams stay bad, good teams stay good, and like
bad teams stay bad when they play in bad markets that aren't promoted by the NBA, which is why the superstars don't want to play there.
You guys want to act like a budget organization. You guys want to do what the Oklahoma City Thunder does when they have Sam Presti and we have Sean Marks. It's not the same thing. It's like saying I want to be the Showtime Lakers, except instead of Magic Johnson, I have Killian Hayes. Like, well, it's not going to work the same way, right? Like they can rebuild. Oklahoma City can rebuild in a budget way because they have the brain power behind it. We have Sean Marks. You have to go with what you have, right? Like Sean Marks can't rebuild a team. He can't. Like we can sit here and pretend that he does, but until he's fired, the Nets are not rebuilding from nuts and bolts to ground up. It's not going to happen because he's not capable of it.
I think the point is we're hoping against hope, which is, pretty much what we're doing when we have Marks at the helm. We're hoping against hope that he could at least, we could stumble into some draft picks and at least get the talent. Because if we get the talent, by the time we figure out, there might be a time in the near future, maybe next year, as a matter of fact, that they find out, Sean Marks, as Christopher Cancel was saying, is the problem. He needs to be fired, and then we'll just continue losing next year. And then we'll get another draft pick. But I'm saying that's the whole thing. That the whole issue came down to whatever Sean Marks does. Sean Marks was covered because he had those 2 extreme. He had 2 of the top 10 players. And then you could say when he had Harden, we had 3 of the top 15 players in basketball.
Let me push back a little. Philly got Markelle Fultz and Ben Simmons. How good did that make him?
Okay, but Boston got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown with their picks.
They were already no. They were a good team. They were
not a good team. They had Isaiah Thomas, and that was it. They were mediocre.
They went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
The year before they got Tatum and Brown.
The year before they got Tatum, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
With what team?
So what are you saying?
Isaiah Thomas.
That was the year they went to the ECF?
I
thought it was the year after.
They lost to Cleveland. They had Kelly Olynyk. They had a bunch of dudes. They were not a terrible team. That's what I'm saying. You don't go from.
I'm saying Boston in the sense that you can draft 2 top 5 picks and build out superstars that way, like Boston did. The only comparable rebuild in terms of this, the way that you're picking and losing right now, and the way that you can accelerate that is Houston. Houston's doing it currently. Houston is a top 4 seed in the West. 2 years into their rebuild. They've gotten Amen Thompson, Sengun, Jalen Green over the last 3 years. It's a 2-year rebuild, and in the third season, you try and win. That's how it's supposed to happen. It's really not that hard.
And it's not that hard. It just doesn't work. There are 5-6 teams that tank every year. It does. I mean, you can find me one example in 5 years where it worked. Houston. Okay, what about all the examples?
Because winning championships doesn't happen in just 5 years. That's the problem with Nets fans. We've never won a damn thing. What's the rush? We're not going to win in the next 3 years, no matter the route you want to take.
Gary,
it's not possible.
All right, so Gary, my thing is, and this is the thing that I get, because I remember when you were talking about, having the 2 cams and then having, whatever, and we could be like, a 10th seed or whatever, or even like what you're saying, if we end up with Giannis and we end up with, and we don't trade Cam Thomas, so we have Giannis and Cam Thomas. My thing is, I just think that for me, and it is a preference, but it's more than a preference in that I'd rather have young guys, making the 7th, 8th seed and, whatever for the, the next in 3 years from now. I'd rather have young guys making those teams and everything, making us make the playoffs than having guys who are 30 years old and better making the 7th or 8th seed. That's what I'm saying. My thing is there's more of a projection of being good towards the future. I want them to be good for the next 10 years.
Look, I love Ace Bailey. I don't see a path to being good just because we have Ace Bailey. Like I mean, and by good, I mean a
but the
title
problem is I think that I don't think you're seeing it. I don't think you're seeing it in the sense that we're explaining it. It's not just build through the draft. Boston got 2 superstars through a draft and brought in Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. That's how you do it. The Houston Rockets have they brought in Fred VanVleet after drafting.
But we can't do that. We have $50 million tied up in bad contracts in Claxton, and now we're going to have 85. We're going to have $80 million.
And that's the exact reason why. If you draft in the top 5 over the next 2 seasons, you can package up Claxton and one other contract.
Can you? Are you sure you can trade Claxton?
Yes, because
his contract goes down in his third season. He'll be making like $21 million.
Can I just say this to come into Gary's defense a little bit, because Dylan and LBL, we agree that the right route is to do this the right way, but at the end of the day, this organization has put us on a haywire right now. We're close to a play-in. We're tied with Philly. Did I think we would be tied with Philly this year? Hell no! Like it's insane. And now we're banking. Listen, this only works the right way if we get a top 3 pick on a bank of luck. If we don't make this play-in thing, right? But if we don't get an Ace, Harper, or Cooper, you're banking on the following year, and that draft looks great. Top 3 looks really good. But say we get the 4th or 5th, like, is that a guarantee? Are we going to tank more after that? Like, this organization has shown us they don't have the game plan right now. This whole banks on getting a top 3 pick, which we should have put a lot of work in this season. But now we're close to a play-in, and if we get the 6th or 8th pick and we're banking on next year, we still have Claxton Johnson on his team. If he could get Claxton Johnson off this team this summer, guys, I think we kind of set ourselves up well for 2026 draft. I really do. But will Marks do it? This guy's attachment issues with these players for some weird freaking reason. And to the point about Giannis, we do have a package on the table potentially. Should we do it? Probably not. But if we don't draft right this year, I think you have to be a little open-minded to what else is out there, because Mark's blueprint seems to be put the stars together and hope it wins you something. That's all it feels like. Now, does that work for us long-term? Probably not. But if we don't have other options, we have to consider maybe those options.
But you're right. A lot of it depends on will Marks draft right. And I think that if you've noticed in Dylan's language and in mine, part of it is, we've almost, because of the statistical improbability, we've almost given up on having the top 3. Yeah, but what we're saying is at this point,
that's a failure.
Philly loses, we should lose. So-and-so loses, we should lose. We may not catch those top 4, those bottom 4, but we shouldn't let anybody who's tied with us or right in front of us has more talent.
Can I tell you what my nightmare is, LBL, right now? You look at the East, our own division for a second. The Raptors are the smartest tanking team this season. You already got Scotty Barnes, a franchise guy. You got Ingram, who could be a 3rd guy. Now, if they get a top prospect, let's say they get a Harper, Asa Cooper, they are a way better team going to next 2 years. The Philly, for as bad as they look, they're still going to run it back with Joel, George, and Maxey. And then Boston.
Let me jump in on that, John. When I said to sign Brandon Ingram, you all said, no, you can't do that because we have to be bad. But now Toronto gets Brandon Ingram, and they're geniuses for tanking.
Well, who would you have given up that makes $36 million to send over for them? What were you going to give them? They didn't want Cam Johnson. They wanted expiring money because they're over the luxury tax. So they weren't taking Claxton or Cam Johnson. We have no other contracts outside of that.
No, I hear you. I hear you. But you can you can get a guy like Brandon Ingram and still tank. Like, it's possible. Like, Brandon Ingram is not LeBron James.
Well, they didn't start the season off with Brandon Ingram. That's the problem. If they started that season with the current roster that they have, and they still dealt with the injuries that they've had, they still probably have 10 more wins than what they have currently.
Without Ingram, with or without Ingram, would you agree that Toronto is 10 times more talented than the Brooklyn Nets?
Yeah, they're 10 times more talented, but they've also been dealing with injuries. So, like, Scotty Barnes is out for a portion of the year. Emmanuel Quickly has been in and out of the rotation. RJ Barrett is ill every other day. It makes no sense.
Yeah, because he's fine. They just don't want to play because they don't want to win. We all know why. Yeah,
that's my point. It's so easy to actually do this, and we're taking every route possible to not do it. That's the problem.
The problem is our division looks way stronger than we do right now.
Hold on. You can draft twice in the top 5 and then go for a star. You can draft the number 1 overall pick and then the following season go for a star. There's different routes to rebuilding. Boston is a key example. They've had a solid roster, but they were able to still draft their 2 superstars who were still the focal point of their team, which led them to a
because they got away with the robbery of the century in the
Okay, and so did we. We got our own picks back, and we got 6 Knicks picks back, and we still can't figure it the fuck out. That's my point, is we have the robbery in place, and we're failing to actually do anything about it.
I think we are in the worst position of any team in the NBA.
If the Nets landed if the Nets landed at 2 top 5 picks over the next 2 years, that gives you 3 years to fully develop, process, and do whatever you want with these young guys, one of which will likely become a star, correct? If not both.
Yeah, that's a big if.
Let's just assume it is. One or both end up becoming a star. You then have picks in 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030. One of those picks could potentially land in the top 5 again, similar to how Boston had with our pick. It's just you can continue on with getting young talent while also winning. That's what Boston did.
Dylan, the process you just described is the correct process, but here's the thing.
Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens. We have Sean Marks.
I completely understand that. But at the end of the day,
Chris? I wanted you to address it. If Sean Marks is the problem, why is he not fired?
Because I'm not Joe Tsai. There's no other answer. He's a fucking idiot. No, but seriously, you can do exactly what Boston did, minus the fact that we're not winning currently. Like, it's the same exact style. You have your own picks back. Use them properly. It's not hard to draft talent. It really isn't. Like, if there's one thing I'm okay with Sean doing, it's drafting. That's fine.
Are we sure that he's such a
Are we sure?
Are we sure of this?
No, we're not sure.
We give him a lot of credit.
We're not sure of it, but that's the only aspect to his game that we know that he actually does. The only thing that I have physically seen him do in a professional job standpoint is go and scout. So yeah, if there's one thing that I'm going to put a little bit of faith in, I'm going to trust that, because the guys at Rutgers.
Why did he draft Tyrese Maxey then, Dylan? We had the 19th pick. He was drafted 22 by Philly. Why didn't we draft Maxey?
Because Tyrese Maxey wasn't that good.
No. Oh, fast forward 2-3 years. Now he's one of the best young stars in the league. We traded for Lance and Salmon.
You can't predict those things. That's like
Dylan, you just said he was great at drafting it, Dylan. That's not great drafting it, dude.
That's like asking me, why did the Nets not take Nikola Jokic in the second round? Because it's a fucking hidden gem. Some people don't get those.
Let me add.
And Mark doesn't get gems sometimes.
Hey, let me add this.
Well, so far he's gotten Harris LeVert, Jared Allen.
Yeah.
He's
not on the team anymore. Not on the team anymore. Cam Thomas, who you want to trade? Like, who is he drafted that's actually going to be on his team? Nobody.
Let's see. When was the last time we had draft picks? When was the last time we had draft picks that were actually meaningful?
The Mikal Bridges trade.
Like, even we're defending this guy and we're trying to expose him. That's what I'm just trying to expose here, Dylan. Is that you're defending him now?
No, there's no defense here. It's not a defense. It's just the simple fact that we have good picks now. We have lottery picks. No reason that he can fuck it up. It's not hard to draft talent.
We're a playing team potentially, really Dylan. What are you talking about?
That's his call, and that's his call.
I would
the drafting
say this.
portion of it.
Exactly.
If we don't take advantage of getting our draft picks back, meaning this year and next year, then that trade was one of the worst trades we've ever made.
You could have just traded Mikal for our picks back, and it would have been more simplistic.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like
Exactly.
you don't trade back for your own picks unless you're planning on tanking.
Brooklyn literally could have gotten their 2025 and 2026 pick back, and maybe an additional pick for Mikal Bridges and one Phoenix pick, and you still would have been able to.
Jalen Green.
No, nobody wants Jalen Green. Fuck that guy. He's so bad. He is.
You
so
just
bad.
said Jalen Green was one of the reasons, the key pieces to why you.
No, he is.
Yeah, man, come on, Dylan. Come on, buddy.
Yeah, he's one of the key pieces towards their rebuild coming to an end. But he again is in the same position as Cam Thomas. He's the piece that gets traded for Devin Booker. Same reason as Cam Thomas is probably going to be the piece that gets traded for Giannis if that ever happens.
And
that's
I'm
my
fine
point.
with that, right? But the Knicks did this with Julius Randle. Julius Randle's a guy that helped you be competitive, helped you get better.
It was the same
but
thing
once
that
it's
D'Lo
winning
did
time,
for us
it's time to trade Julius Randle. And look, if 2 years from now we have Cam Thomas on a friendly deal, and I'm so happy Breezy's not here anymore. If in 2 years from now we say, okay, we're a 45-win team, and we can trade Cam Thomas for that superstar, it's going to put us in contention. Okay. Like, that's fine. Like, let's do it. I agree with you that he's that piece, especially I think we're going to get him on a team-friendly deal because there's just no one else.
He's your Marcus Smart on the Celtics piece, right? That thank you for the loyalty, but we'd rather have Drew Holiday, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So
I like the Julius Randle for Karl Anthony Towns comparison better, but yeah, sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's what I was saying. And that's what I was saying to John, because John is so biased. He's like, this bum Cat. And I'm like, did you look at Cat's numbers?
Cat's damn good, man.
91% of people are scoring against him this year, LBL.
John, that was a stat from 5 games into the season. I saw that stat too.
Wait to the playoffs, Gary. Wait to the playoffs, my friend. We'll see. Because they got to get through Boston and then the Cavs if they want to win it all. So, and they might face Detroit in the first round. Detroit ain't no slouch right now. So that'll be interesting to see. Detroit, but I just want to say this real quick.
I agree. Detroit doesn't suck. The Knicks are beating Detroit in a 7-game.
They're starting 5.
Right. Or Magic. Or if Magic passes by Detroit, it'd be interesting. But can I say to Dylan's point, the process of doing this right for 2 years and getting a star, I 100% agree with you. But here's the thing. If we don't get a top 3 pick this year, look at our own division. Our own division is better than us. Boston will still be competing for a title. The Knicks will still be competing for something. Philly, as bad as they look, they are still going to run that 3 back next year. And then you got, what was the team I left out? Toronto, the smart strategic taking team. They are literally now a year or two, if they get a top prospect, a top 3, they're a year or 2 away from being contention. And if we don't get a top 3 pick, we are right there in the bottom, just hoping and praying that we could beat these teams. Like, that is the gamble Sean Marks has put us in. Either you can draft right and eventually beat your own division, or you don't draft right and you're hoping and praying you could scrap by some of these teams until they go bad, which could take 2 to 5 years. So that's the whole potential.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you: Did the Knicks draft right when they got RJ Barrett? Was that like a decent pick? It was, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was a number 3 pick in a very good draft class, and it doesn't really change winning. Like, he's a good player. I would take him on my team, but like, he's not really good. And that's what I'm saying about this draft. They can get a decent pick, and they can get a decent player, a good player. And it's not really going to change the calculus of your team. It's
because, like, again, you can't fully invest in building one way or the other. It works both ways. You can draft for the next 2 years and trade for the superstar after, and have a big 3 of the players you've drafted plus that superstar. Like, it's not difficult to do. It's really not. You build through both ways. You don't build just one way, because if you're building through the draft, well, you're not going to be relevant for 6 years minimum.
We already said it before. Gary, you said it before. Like, you draft Derek Coleman, you draft Kenny Anderson, and then later you trade for Petrovic, right? So that's what we're saying. But at least
that team didn't get out of the first round. I love that team. That team.
But you know they would have eventually got better.
Well, I mean, was Derek Coleman going to become a better human being? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I understand.
The winning helped.
Chuck Daly helped, right? Chuck Daly was. I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I love DC. I loved Kenny Anderson. I loved Drazen Petrovic. And that was the team that made me a hardcore Nets fan. But it didn't win. Like, we love that team, like the way that we love the 18-19 team. It didn't really win, though.
And let's be fair, hardly anyone else won except for the Bulls.
That's fair. But didn't get out of the first round of the playoffs. We lost to the Knicks in 4 games back in the best of 5 days.
And we lost to a great Cleveland team.
Team, yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I like the idea of being young and adding on and getting better and hopefully getting better because that was the thing with Boston, right? That was the thing with Boston. Even though Tatum and Brown were their two most talented players, they still needed the veteran leadership of Harford. Which they already had, but they also still needed Drew Holiday, right? They still needed that other guy to get them over the hump. And that's what I'm saying. It's like we don't have any foundational pieces.
You draft your two skilled superstar caliber players in the draft, and you build a team around them. That gives you a longer window of opportunity because you don't have to instead of replacing stars every once in a while, like we had to do with Harden and then into Ben, and then trying to figure out a piece to put next to KD, and you failed to do that, so you had to trade KD. Rather than giving yourself short-term windows, draft the two guys, focus on them, and build the roster around them, because it is much easier to replace role players next to stars than it is to replace stars next to role players. So just draft. It's truly not fucking hard. Like the next 2 years, whether you're picking at pick 8 or pick 1, draft. Stay the course. This season failed, unless if you land in the top 3 somehow. And even if so, it is still a failure because there's no reason to raise our blood pressures this much. Like it's pathetic.
I would agree on that.
Put us in a better position. Next season, a younger roster equals more losses. When have you really seen a young team that doesn't have a solidified all-star and superstar that has done anything? SGA, when he was in OKC his first season, wasn't the greatest player in the world like he is today.
The young roster that you're keeping.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just named the 8 players that are going to be on this roster.
That's even the difference. That's even the difference. When we get the secondary draft picks, right? Whoever the other ones are out of our top one, those guys should be potentially better players than Keon Johnson, Zaire Williams, Jalen Wilson, they should be better players.
Right. That's a good point, LBL. It's a really good point.
I'm saying you're trying to
picks
develop
this year in the late 20s. Prospects this year in the late 20s would have gone lottery last year. That's how good this draft class is. Like Boogie Fland, you can get in between picks like 21 and 27 because of his season-ending injury. That's a guy who has star potential.
And what
that could be like a Tyrese Maxey of this class.
And you'll own their rights much longer because Zaire Williams, he's playing his heart out and everything, but all he's trying to do is get the most money possible. That's why what Breezy was saying was a fallacy about Cam Johnson, because Cam Johnson is only happy that Sean Marks gave him the money. It has nothing to do with these guys. Don't have loyalty. Neither do the team.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Well, to be fair, Claxton wanted to be here. Claxton got the same offer basically from Detroit, and he chose to be here. And I love.
But if he got that offer from Memphis, he would have gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair. Joe, that's a good point.
Very fair. He wouldn't want to play with Ja.
And Claxton still would have been playing behind Duran, a 20-year-old.
Ooh.
What was their plan there? Like, I mean, you can't play both of those guys on the court together. It's not the 90s. Like,
he's not as good as Stewart.
They just had cap space. They were just looking to make moves. Because then, if you use up your cap space, then you could always just make trades. Like Claxton's contract this season would have matched up better for a guy like Brandon Ingram if the case was made to where they wanted to go after him, rather than having to package up like Isaiah Stewart and like a Tobias Harris or something. Like they're just getting rid of more depth and cheaper contracts than if they were to move on from Claxton. So that's probably what the reason was behind it.
Here's my last question. I got to wrap it up. I just want to go around the panel and get your kind of take on this. So the cap space that the Nets do have is a little bit overrated. It's not what because they couldn't move off of Cam Johnson. So let's say this offseason, Marks wants to keep Cam Johnson. You're going to bring back, and Dylan kind of went over this, but you're going to bring back Cam Johnson Cam Thomas for anywhere from 25 to 30 million. Let's say 28. You're going to bring back Zaire Williams for 8 to 10, and you're going to bring back Sharp probably for at least 10. So that's 18, and let's say 28. So that's $46 million. So now you're down to about what, 25 million in cap space? What are the Nets going to do with that this offseason?
Yeah, like I said, let me run down the list because I can give it quick because I know you gotta wrap things up. You got Cam Johnson Cam Johnson, Noah Clowney, Nick Claxton, Tyrese Martin, Dariq Whitehead, Keon Johnson, Maxwell Lewis, Jalen Wilson. That's 8 players that would currently be on the roster. We probably have close to 50 to 60 million in cap space, so you have to figure that 25 of that's going to Cam Thomas. So let's just say
I think
figuratively,
you're being generous on that too. I think it's gonna be like 28, but go ahead, 25.
Yeah, we'll
something
stick
like
with the
that.
team friendlies. Let's just say we have 60 million, so 25 of that, you're down to 35 million. You're giving about 10 to 12 million a year to Zaire Williams. So let's just say he gets 12. You're bumping that down to about, what is that, 23 million?
I can't do 12. You could be right. You might be right. I can't do 12 for Zaire.
I know.
It's too much.
So even then, let's just say it's 10, right? So you're at 25 million in cap space remaining for free agents. Not to mention, you don't get rookies for free. You got to give them contracts. So figure if say you draft at 3, you're paying a guy 10 million a year.
Yep.
Right. So let's just say that's the maximum that you're looking at. You could be paying rookies close to a combined 22 million. So realistically, there's like 5 to 10 million of cap space if you bring back all these guys and draft all these picks. There's no scenario again where you're going to grab talent. It's not close.
And that was my point. It's why you had to trade Claxton if you could. And it's why you had to trade, because the cap space is an illusion. It's really not the cap space everyone thinks it. Everyone thinks that the Nets have all this free money. They don't, right? They don't. And that's why I say they're absolute hell. You can't have 50 million tied up. And now you're going to have about almost 80 million tied up when we include Cam Thomas. So this is the roster that you're going with. And this is why I keep saying the Nets are in hell. They don't,
well, that's my point as to why this offseason is mandatory to move Cam Johnson. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If they don't do it, I wouldn't even say Claxton just yet. I wouldn't even say Claxton just yet.
He's not moving here.
Ready? Because if you move Johnson for a bag of chips, who gives a shit? Your roster gets worse and it gets younger. Okay, that's fine. That season, you tank with Claxton. The following offseason, his contract goes down another 3 or 4 million. And plus, you may be drafting again in the top 3. Who knows? So say that you land 2, top 8 picks. Cam Thomas is paid. Claxton's still here on a cheaper deal now because his declining deal goes down. Okay, now you're in a position where 2027's offseason, you're looking at real possibilities. Like, you have free agent options, you have trade options, you still have all of your draft capital. That's when you make a move. You don't make a move because you fucked up on a tank in the first year. You stay the course. Get rid of the problem, which is Cam Johnson right now.
But the GM, this is what I keep saying. Like, you guys say, well, Brad Stevens did this, and Danny Ainge did that, and Sam Presti did this, and Landry Field. We don't have those guys.
The problem is that this is the same exact situation that happened with Mikal Bridges last year, and then he was moved. I'm not saying we're getting 3+ first-round picks for Cam Johnson, but at some point he's going to figure it out and be like, all right, I fucked up. Let me just take whatever I can get. And that's hopefully what he does, because he did the same shit last year with Mikal. He got offered an incredible deal, and he took it. So hopefully a team comes in. I mean, listen, Wemby's dealing with blood clots. Like, does San Antonio look to try and go in on a guy like, KD, and then also bring in a guy like Cam Johnson? Who knows? They may need to start adding pieces now that, we don't know what's going on with Wemby in his career. So there's options out there, though, of teams that have looked into him that need him. You would have to assume they pay a price if the time comes. I said it months ago that I do think the deal that gets accepted is 2 first-round picks. 1 unprotected, 1 with a protection, and a contract that matches. I still think that's the deal in the offseason, because a team is going to get bounced early in this year's playoffs, whether it be the play-in or the first round, and they're going to look in his direction because they need some form of help.
I think Cam Johnson and Sean Marks are going to retire from the Nets and get a gold watch. I think that's how long.
Gary,
I hope they do.
I hope you're right, Dylan. I hope you're right.
Gary, I just wanted to know, you said something great about this mirage of cap space. If you were to trade Johnson Claxton, we were looking at 80, 90 million. That's what I and everybody thought was the goal, to have as much as possible. When you didn't trade those two, it's like, okay, now we only have like 58 million cap space. Like Dylan said, re-sign Thomas, Zaire. You're already down to like 20 mil. Like, what can you do with that? And this free agency this summer, it's the worst time to have cap space. This is like dry Gobi Desert free agency. Like, besides Jonathan Kuminga and Thomas, free agency is really just a dead nail at this point. So what are you going to do with that? Sean Marks still has time before free agency. Draft night. Draft night's where he does some or most of his work. You could potentially move Johnson to move up in this draft. I look, like Dylan said, the Spurs, do they want to make a move for Johnson? OKC, if they get bounced in the first, second round, could they maybe wake up and offer some of those picks for Johnson? Like, those are the 2 teams I would say to monitor Cam Johnson this summer as far as draft night goes. And Claxton, we might be stuck with him now. The Lakers, they rescinded that deal with Mark Williams, not because he was not unhealthy, but because they felt they gave up a lot for a guy that they were not that confident in. So I feel like the Lakers are our best chance to get off of Claxton. Give me 2 expiring contracts, give me a pick, and let's call it a day. If Sean Marks can get both Claxton and Johnson off this team this summer, we are looking great cap space flexibility-wise for 2020-26, which looks way better from a free agency standpoint than 2025 does. So he still has time to course correct this, but if he doesn't, and we go into next season with Johnson and Claxton, like, how do we have assets as far as the cap space flexibility goes? We're paying these 2 guys $20 million. So there's still a chance to save this, but time's a ticking, Marks. We got about 4 months to figure out what our direction is, or else we're just going to be a crappy team for 3 to 4 or 5 years if we don't draft right. So time's a ticking. Let's start getting the ball rolling here as far as waking the hell up goes.
LBL, close us out.
I was just thinking about what John last said, and I'm like, man, if he F's this up, man, like I said, I think I'm going to leave the Nets. It's been my team for over 40 years, but I'm going to leave them, man, and I'll just wait. I'll come back once Marks is off the team. But I'm saying, because I can't take this, man. This is so rotten, the way that he blundered all of this stuff up. Hopefully he'll luck into, a top pick or something. Someone will fall into our laps. But I'm so worried that he'll draft someone like Con Knuckle, and then we'll be like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And then
puns.
It's like, so for me, it's just, if he messes it up, I'm out, man. I've had it, man. Because I can't take the incompetence, and I really don't want to be arguing with people who we're both the same fan base, but I don't want to argue with Breezy about what I think. I think Cam Thomas is a dynamite scorer, but I'm not even sure. He may be a starter in the NBA, but is he any better than any other gunner that I've seen in the last 40 years? I don't know.
He could genuinely be a Lou Williams. That's the problem.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know, if because he did make the strides, and we all talked about it in the beginning, how he was making his way and getting better as a player. But do I have any confidence that will continue? No, because he's been hurt for over half the season. So I'd have to see him play and see that happen. And I'm not sure if, that's just not enough. Not when you're competing against those boys in the backcourt in Cleveland, or you're competing against Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and when you're competing against Tyrone Maxey. To me, Thomas is not better than any of those guys.
Not according to Trendon Watford.
I don't like guys like Maxey and Jalen Green. He's as good or better than those guys. I mean, he doesn't get to. We wanted to lose, and losing was more important than developing Cam Thomas, which I'll never quite understand. So we want more ping pong balls instead of a superstar player. Yeah. I'll never quite understand that. But I don't agree with you that Maxey or Jalen Green is necessary.
Oh, no, I didn't say Green.
All right. But that level of guy, I don't think Tyler Hero is better than Cam Thomas.
I'm saying I think Darius Garland is better.
Hold on. The guy who just made an All-Star game who's averaging 24, 5, and 5 on great efficiency. That guy is not better than Cam Thomas?
No. No, he's in a better situation, obviously. But Cam Thomas is averaging 24 points a game. But we didn't want to play him.
On less efficiency with less rebounds per game and less assists per game and worse defense.
We didn't want to develop Cam Thomas so we could have more ping pong balls.
That's actually blasphemy. The guy who averages more rebounds, more assists, more steals per game, better defense, better efficiency.
Yeah, he's in a better situation.
That's 5 statistical categories. Okay, it's not about situation. Realistically, you can be on the worst team in basketball and still put up 30+ points a game. That doesn't mean you're on what are we?
I don't. Okay, what does he do better on? Give me basketball things that he does better than Cam Thomas.
He rebounds better. He makes better.
So he gets one.
Tyler Hero.
I'll give you the better playmaker. Okay.
He rebounds better.
Okay.
He rebounds
better. He gets one more rebound a game.
He rebounds better.
Okay. He gets one more rebound a game.
He makes better. He shoots the ball more efficiently than Cam Thomas.
No, he's
better defensively.
He's not better defensively. He couldn't play for the Heat all these years in the fourth quarter because he can't play defensively. That's why he was a sixth man who came off the bench who wasn't on the court in closing time.
Now he's a starter on a team that hasn't had Jimmy Butler for half the season.
On a really bad
is in the play-in.
Yeah.
They're in the play-in.
You don't want the Nets. The Nets could easily be in the play. You don't want them to be.
But
there.
they're retooling. We're rebuilding. But they're retooling. We're rebuilding.
Are we?
One's an all-star. Yes, we should be. That's exactly the path that we're on in terms of getting our picks back.
We didn't play Cam Thomas this year because we wanted more ping pong balls.
And that hasn't worked. So clearly he's actually hurt. So if that was the case, then he'd be playing because clearly we're not actually tanking. So if he was actually not hurt, he'd be playing. They've just been milking a hamstring injury because he's hurt it twice.
Who creates their own shot better, Cam Thomas or Tyler Hero?
Cam Thomas, but again, shot creation isn't all of what's scoring it.
Who's the better mid-range scorer, Cam Thomas or Tyler Hero?
I would say Tyler Hero.
I can't even adjust that. He doesn't score in the mid-range. He scores at the basket.
Pull up the stats. Pull up the stats. Who's better efficient-wise from the mid-range? I got to see this because from what I've seen from Tyler Hero, I would say
efficiently. Hero. Cam Thomas is a guy that launches up all the grenades. Tyler Hero's not. I like the efficiency. Like let's watch the game.
That's an excuse. Find a good shot then. If his shot selection is better,
actually watching the game.
If his shot creation is better, then don't you think his shot selection should be better? If he can create his own shot, shouldn't his shot selection be better?
I don't know who's a more efficient scorer, Cam Johnson or Kobe Bryant. Like, yeah, one guy takes all of the difficult shots.
You just compared a top 5 player in basketball to a mediocre role player. I'm comparing two borderline all-stars, one of which is an all-star. There's no compare. That's a bad analogy.
But
I need to see the stats.
Efficiency.
Pull up Cam Thomas' stats.
Johnson is an incredibly efficient scorer. Kobe Bryant's an inefficient scorer.
My point is, I didn't.
I understand what the stats are. I also
Cam Thomas' stats. I'll pull up.
I understand what the stats are. I don't care. I've watched them both play for years.
But my point was there was a reason I didn't mention Hero. I mentioned the guys on Cleveland because he's not better than Darius Garland as a player, and he's not better than
Hold on.
I know they play different positions.
Tyler Hero's averaging 24 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists on 46.5% shooting from the field. He's also shooting. Let's see. Can I see the per year ESPN? Jesus.
So give me the stats. So 24 points
throughout the regular season. He's shooting 38%. He's shooting 38% from three. He's shooting 85.5% from the free throw line.
Give me the stats this year. Give me the stats this year on 24.5 points a game. Right, 46% from the field. Right.
I mean, even if you want to, just do
24.
When did Cam Thomas get hurt? He played 19 games.
He played 17 games. He got hurt like November.
Okay, so let's compare November. And December.
So 24.5% on 46% shooting. Okay, give me Cam Johnson. What Cam Thomas? What's Cam Thomas averaging this year?
Let's see, Cam Thomas. Don't mind me. It's an HP computer. It takes about 3 to 5 business days to load.
I have a quick question for LBL because this relates to the comment.
It's going to be the same thing, except we didn't want to play him so we could get more ping pong balls.
Yeah.
Wait, no. Hold on. Here you go. I got it. 24 points. Hold on. 24.7 points per game. Okay.
So more points per game. Same.
Tyler Hero. He's also played the fraction of the games. Okay. Tyler Hero is averaging 5.5 rebounds. Cam Thomas is averaging 3.6. That's too high.
Understood. So now, okay, hang on. Let's just compare apples to apples. One guy's averaging 24.5 points a game, and the other guy's
Tyler Hero's avying.
I can't. Dylan, I understand. Let's go through this one at a time. I understand. One guy's averaging 20. Your argument was he's a more efficient scorer.
24.
One guy's average.
He's averaging 23.9.
Okay, so both guys are averaging right around 24 points a game. Who plays more minutes?
By 2%. Yes.
So one guy scores the same amount of points in more minutes. Okay, and he's shooting 46%. What is the
Tyler is shooting 46.5%. Cam Thomas is shooting 44.8%.
I mean,
2% different. It's like missing an extra shot.
This is not. Yeah,
but again, we're talking about an all-around player in terms of who's the better player. Scoring isn't the only option in sports. He's averaging 2 rebounds more and 2 assists more. 2 assists more means a minimum of 4 points.
Agreed. No, he's a better playmaker. I'm giving you he's a better playmaker.
Tyler Hero is a more impactful player than Cam Thomas is currently.
I disagree with that. No, I disagree with that.
I don't know if that was the case. I think that if that was the case, don't you think Cam Thomas would have been in All-Star conversations prior to his injury? He wasn't.
No, because he played 17 games. And it's
my point being is social media talks about All-Star games. Like
I think
early
if-
in the
like-
season, it's like,
like-
oh my God, this
like-
guy could be an All-Star. Nobody
think
was
the
saying
guy
made
Cam
an
played
Thomas
All-Star
could be an
game.
All-Star.
The guy made an All-Star game isn't an argument to me because you haven't told me anything about how he plays basketball. Like you've just said, he got
I
he got
think
voted
would-
to this
How
team.
have I
I
not
think
talked
that
about
they
basketball when I've
No,
said
but
he's a better efficient
like what
shooter
is your okay?
and
Fine,
he's a better rebounder and playmaker, and he's
fine.
the
Those are
same level of
basketball things.
scorer.
He
And
made
he's
an
the same
All-Star
level of
team. Isn't a
scorer.
basketball thing. It's an award. I don't care about the award. I care about how they play basketball on the court.
I think
like,
it was.
How do you define a star player in this league when they make an All-Star game?
Maybe you
So-
do.
so
No,
as of right
that's,
now-
that's not how I define it.
I
I don't
think
care if the
he's
guy's
talking
never
about-
been.
Hold on.
Jamal Murray.
By
Hang
NBA
on. Jamal
By
Murray
NBA
has never
definition.
made an All-Star game ever. D'Angelo Russell has. I would take Jamal Murray over D'Angelo Russell 10 out of 10 times. 10 out of 10. Ben
By
Simmons has made
NBA
3 All-Star
definition.
games. Drew Holiday has only made 2. I would take Drew Holiday over Ben Simmons
By
10 out of 10 times.
NBA definition, if you've made an All-Star game in the last 3 years, you are a star. That is
Okay,
by
that's
NBA definition.
I would not agree
So-
with that
So
definition. That would
Tyler
not-
Hero
you
is
asked
a
me.
star currently, and
Your
Cam Thomas
question
is
to
not.
me, your
I don't
question to
agree
me
with
was how would I
definition.
define it? That's not how I would define it.
I
I
understand
say
that, but I'm
was.
giving you
Yeah.
what the actual definition of a star is currently
From-
in the NBA by rule.
From them. Yeah, that's
By
fine.
rule, yes.
That's
I
fine.
don't
So
look
by
at
that's
rule,
fine.
Tyler Hero's a star.
I don't look
Cam
at Tyler
Thomas is not.
Hero as
And
a star.
who's better, Tyler Hero or Jamal Murray?
Currently,
Who? If they
currently,
hit free
Tyler
agency
Hero.
today, so you're okay. I can't.
Tyler Hero's
I
younger.
can't.
Tyler Hero's healthier. Tyler Hero's putting up more points per game than Jamal Murray does.
All right, we just
How is that-
fundamentally disagree
How is that not?
on-
I'm confused here.
on
LBL,
Tyler
what do you
Hero.
think?
Okay.
If you had to
think
pick-
that-
if
I think
both
that
were in
those
free
guys
agency
are
today-
a wash in terms of. I
Who would
think
you sign to a 1-year deal, Tyler Hero or Jamal Murray?
If you
I
were
I
in free
can't with this
agency
Tyler Hero
today
thing.
and you had to give a 3-year contract to Jamal Murray or Tyler Hero,
No. A
currently today,
1-year
give a
deal.
3-year
Jamal Murray or Tyler Hero? Who are you
even
taking?
if it's a 1-year deal, why would you not want the younger guy that you can build around?
Because the other guy's
He puts
infinitely
up better
better.
stats.
That's why. Because the other guy's way.
How is he better?
Because no one cares about stats. Stats don't win you games. Like the stats are the stats. Like
You
it
need to
doesn't-
put up
Julius
stats and put up
Randle.
numbers.
I
No?
understand
Julius
your point.
Randle is an All NBA player. I wouldn't take
understand.
Julius Randle if you gave me him for free.
I
Like,
understand
I-
your point.
Julius
what is
Randle
your
hasn't been an
point?
All-NBA player in 2 or 3 years.
Right. So he's a star by your definition.
But-
An All NBA
but-
star
By
by in the
definition,
last
he's
Gary-
still
years.
considered a star. Yeah,
Right.
But
by
I
Gary-
wouldn't
definition,
take
he's
him
still
if you
considered
gave,
a
I
star.
would not take him if you gave me him for free. If you said you can have him for free, no thanks.
Gary,
Yeah, I
I'm
completely
just
agree.
saying-
But again, you're comparing a
But
guy
he's a
who's again
star.
older
But
than
he's a
Tyler
star.
Hero.
But he's a
Well,
star.
Julius
But when
Randle's
it comes-
closer in
He's
age
more of
to
a star.
Jamal Murray than Tyler Hero is.
Who's
Tyler
made
Hero
an
just
All
made his first All-Star.
Who's made an All NBA team? Julius Randle or Tyler Hero?
Julius Randle.
So he's a better star.
By definition, in terms of how they've played over the last couple of
You
years,
see
yes,
what I'm
Tyler
saying?
Hero's
These
younger though.
definitions-
If
these
Tyler Hero
definitions
makes an
are
All
silly.
NBA team at the age of 27, like Julius Randle did, then wouldn't you say Tyler Hero is a better player all time than Julius Randle is? You can't compare. You have to compare it with the age. When you're an organization, would you rather a younger player who is currently a star, or would you rather an aging
Well,
star who
I don't-
hasn't been an All-Star in 2
How
3 years?
old are they? Would you rather have a 19-year-old or a 25-year-old? I'd rather have a 25-year-old
So
star.
okay,
How
so like I
old are
said,
they?
like I said, I pulled up Jamal Murray's stats. He's 27. He averages 21, 4, and 6 on 47.5% shooting. Again, similar numbers to Cam Thomas and Tyler Hero. Okay, again, Tyler Hero is what, 24? Okay,
So
so do I want the guy that's
3
3 years
years
younger? Do I want the guy that's 3 years younger, who just made an All-Star game, or would I rather the guy who's 3 years older, has dealt with injuries, and has never been an All-Star?
That's 20
That's simplistic.
I don't
You're taking
care that
Tyler
he's
Hero.
never been an All-Star. It's just a silly argument. I don't care if he's ever made an All-Star team. Like it doesn't matter to me. Like
Only thing
D'Lo has
with-
made an All-Star team. What does
The
that
only
mean?
thing with this,
You would take D'Lo over Jamal Murray?
no, not
The
me.
year that he
D'Lo
made the All-Star
wait,
game,
hang on, D'Lo made an All-Star
the
game.
year that he made the All-Star game, if you compared the two, yeah, you were probably taking D'Lo over Jamal Murray. In
There was
2018,
never a day.
D'Lo over Jamal Murray?
in
That's
2018,
what it's
Jamal
like,
Murray
this is-
wasn't even relevant.
All right.
In
There's only-
2018, can you tell me what Jamal Murray was averaging? Can you tell me what he did as a basketball
He's
player?
an NBA champion. So okay.
Yeah, not in 2018.
There's never been a day that they've existed on Earth where D'Lo is better than Jamal Murray.
D'Angelo
Yeah,
Russell in 2018 was a
Dylan,
better
sorry,
basketball.
Dylan. Can't,
Okay,
can't,
here, I'll
we
pull
gotta
up
do
the
this
stats
one, this one, man.
I don't
Okay,
care.
I'll pull up the stats
I don't care about what the stats are. They don't matter to me.
Because
No,
you
I-
guys
Can
are
I ask
comparing
LBL a
current
quick
day
question, please? Can I
Yeah.
ask LBL a quick question? Because he's our
You're
elder
comparing current day
statesman.
players.
Let me just ask LBL quick questions or Elder States, but I appreciate his knowledge on things. Trendon Watford broke some headway when he said that Cam Thomas is the best bucket scorer he's ever seen in his life, better than Damian Lillard, the one star he actually got to play next to for a few minutes. So, LBL, is Cam Thomas the best bucket scorer you've ever seen in your life?
No, but I also didn't play on a team with either one. And I also am not, I'm also trying to stay in the good graces of my boss, right? That's what Trendon Watford is doing.
All right, guys, I got to wrap.
Thank you very much, LBL.
Yeah.
Hold
on. Right before you wrap it up, in 2018-2019, D'Angelo Russell averaged 21.7 assists. Jamal Murray, he averaged 16 points. If it ever reloads for me, yeah, I can get the full stats. He averaged 16.7 points and 3.4 assists. I rest a fact.
That doesn't apply there.
In 2018, if it was free agency, in 2018, and you had the option to choose D'Angelo Russell or Jamal Murray, everyone was taking D'Angelo Russell. That is a fact because Jamal Murray hadn't done anything in his career yet. You guys are comparing today's stats and accomplishments rather than the age of the player or when they did it.
Dylan, I think he's actually
the argument is all over the place, though.
I think
it kind of is a bit today.
And some guys, some people.
How so?
Some guys.
I'm telling you,
film, and they can just say this guy's the better basketball.
It was about stats. Then it was about points per game and field goal percentage. When we looked at Tyler Hero and Cam Thomas, it was basically a wash. Then it was age. Cam Thomas is younger than Tyler Hero. Then it wasn't about age anymore, but it was about age again when it was
rebounds and 2 assists per game is on better efficiency.
In how many more minutes? In how many more minutes?
We just said the same amount of minutes. So in the same amount of minutes, he's averaging.
Tyler Hero's only averaging 30 more minutes.
Yeah, but you know what makes the argument though? There's a different argument also with who you're playing with as well, because
he plays 4 more minutes a game, so he gets 2 extra points and 2 extra rebounds and 2 extra assists. Now he would get more assists anyway. Cam Thomas is not getting 2 assists in 2 more minutes, right? So he's playing 3.5, 4 minutes more a game. So he's getting an extra rebound or 2. There's not a major difference in the statistical production outside of the assists. But Cam Thomas is a much better. Cam Thomas is one of the only guys in the league, handful of guys, who can score logo to under the basket and everywhere in between. Tyler Hero's not one of those guys. Tyler Hero
just won the 3-point contest. He's got range.
Cool. What do you mean? Awesome. So did Joe Harris.
I've seen the guy make half-court shots. I've seen the guy make half-court shots.
Cool. Logo he can't score in the mid-range. All of his points are at the hoop or behind the 3-point line.
Listen, the Miami Heat play tonight. Watch the game, and I'll watch the game, and we'll come back at another day, and we'll see how many mid-range shots he took.
And if you traded them for each other, Cam Thomas, it would be interesting to see what he could do with a guy like Bam on his team, because Claxton surely ain't him.
Well, he wouldn't pass it to him much. That's for sure.
But Dylan, if Thomas was playing with Miami with Bam, would you give him the same grace you're giving Hero? Because think about this: a few years ago, Hero was trade bait. There were rumors about us being involved as a third team to take Hero off their hands. We still had Jimmy and Bam, I gotta
wrap. I gotta wrap.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
All right, fun show, guys. Fun show.
You guys, Dylan, are you free tomorrow? You want to go on tomorrow? You want to continue?
What time tomorrow?
You tell me.
Do we play tomorrow?
I don't know. We'll text. All
right, guys.
All right.
Have a good one, guys. Great show.
Right, yeah. I gotta
Later,
go.
everyone.
Later. StreamYard does